Alright, guys, I'm coming in at you from a different angle because my back is hurt and I gotta be standing, otherwise, sitting just makes my back hurt a lot. So, the reaction for the very last episode of the series is actually gonna have to wait. Not that it's that much. I don't feel that bad about waiting this time, just because I'm not that amped up for the last episode anymore. Um, I'm sure some people probably enjoyed the last episode. Me, I was just like, there were some redeeming qualities of the show, but as for the characterization of people and how the story went, I don't think I would have a problem. There was a lot of foreshadowing for Daenerys going mad, but it wasn't character development. It wasn't. There was no reason for her to turn in that moment, even if there was foreshadowing for it in the beginning. But yeah, this episode started with Varys writing a letter about Jon Snow's true heritage, and I was hoping for a better end for Varys, just because he's a very, very, very cool character, and he's always been very dangerous. And for him to die that way, he's always been able to insulate himself no matter what, and I just don't see why he would have done what he did without making sure he's safe. He could have escaped and written those letters from somewhere else, maybe, but yeah, so that means a lot of people must know Jon Snow's true heritage, and yeah, he asks Jon to take the throne, but Jon, of course, keeps saying, "She's my queen." Man. And I feel like if Jon hadn't turned down Daenerys, she wouldn't have gone to burn everything down. Just. She feels like. That very conversation where they're contemplating being together or not, she's saying that the people love you. I'll never have that in Westeros. I only have fear. So that's what she did. She ruled with fear. I don't think she actually went mad, as in crazy and insane. I just think she made a choice. She saw what led her to have power in Marine and in Slaver's Bay, and that was the love of the people she freed. But there's people won't love her even if she kills Cersei. People won't love her. That's the way she feels at the moment, at least. And yeah, that turn. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but it did. But yeah, she did promise Varys that she would burn him if he betrayed her, and he said he would go to her first. So both sides kept their promises. It was especially sad to see Tyrion be the one who turned Varys in, even though, yeah, it would have been treason had Tyrion not told Daenerys. And yeah, executing Varys. I don't know if it was just me. Drogon paused for a long time after she gave that order. I don't know if it was hesitation on Drogon's part or her part. Maybe Drogon could sense Daenerys' hesitation. I don't know if there was any hesitation there at all. But for some reason he slowed down and made me wonder actually in that moment if something was gonna change or something different was gonna happen. But we're not that lucky. But yeah, Varys. I'm sad he went out that way. It just kind of feels like a lot of people's stories aren't climaxing. They're kind of just like ending in a whimper. Varys' story, he went out with a whimper. One thing I did appreciate about this episode was Tyrion and Jaime's scene together in that tent. There was a lot of parallels from earlier episodes that were reinforced this time with Jaime freeing Tyrion and now him being able to free him, and they both realized that Jaime was probably going to die in that moment, and Tyrion still tried to find a way to save Jaime, but yeah, that would have been something, wouldn't it have, if Jaime and Cersei had survived and went to Pentos and were able to raise their child, but that wasn't in the cards. Yeah, and Tyrion also had Davos ready that stingy. I thought he was gonna have Davos smuggle in Jaime. I was like, really? I don't see how that could possibly happen. But I think Tyrion. I'm wondering if it's possible that I think it's possible Daenerys knew that Tyrion betrayed her again and freed Jaime, and that's also another part of the reason why she uh, decided to burn everything. One thing was she seemed to be on board with Tyrion and stopping the battle if they rung the bells. But I'm very curious if the bells hold any significance for her. I actually forgot to look this up before I started recording this. Um, what did Daenerys was Daenerys already on Dragonstone when Tywin came and attacked, or was she in King's Landing and she escaped from King's Landing or people escaped with her? Because if she was there in King's Landing, she would have heard the bells, or some bells. It's interesting because I distinctly remember them saying, Varys and Tyrion saying that the bells meant invasion is coming, but in this episode it meant surrender. I'm wondering if somehow the bells triggered something in her. It was like the moment where her entire family was taken away from her. Her father's killed. It's a signal. It's a symbol of Rhaegal dying, her fleeing her homeland. So yeah, if she was still in Dragonstone, I mean, if she was still in King's Landing when the attack happened and the bells rung, then I would understand. That would be something very interest. That would be a very interesting way to tie this all together when she's hearing the bells again and it makes her mad. That I could get on board with a little bit, but they didn't explain that in any way whatsoever. So if that's true, then they did not convey that at all. Yeah, somebody commented below and let me know if she was actually still in King's Landing. Oh man, I can't talk. Let me get a drink of water. But yeah, I think the biggest positive of this episode is just the cinematography. There were some shots that were just really, really well done. When it was the Hound and the mountain, the Hound looking up at the mountain and the dragon was flying behind him, that was really a really great shot. And then later on, it was Arya. After she saw the horse and she was starting to walk and turn towards it. There was just like light cascading down. That was really, really just beautiful, beautiful scenery, and yeah, it was just on a level of just like visual beauty of this scene, of this story, of this episode. The dragon breathing down fire. It looked cool. It just everything looked really great, but just I'm not satisfied with where the story's going. Arya and Sandor entered the city, and Jaime entered too, and they were just kind of rushing towards the same place, but Jaime just happens to miss. Arya had like this little side story with that woman who she and the Hound cut off when entering the Red Keep, and then they got locked out, but then she happens to happen upon them again later on in the episode, and she tries to save them. So yeah, I have to imagine Arya's out for blood again this time. Just she and Sansa were, I guess, technically right now that everything's all done and said and done with. That Daenerys isn't trustworthy. So I'm pretty sure Daenerys is going to be on her list, the last one on her list, and it was interesting because I wasn't sure what they were going to do with Arya. I didn't know if the whole point of her story was just to kill the Night King and then her story's over, but it seems like there's more to it, definitely, and I don't know if there was any symbolism with her riding that horse or getting on that horse. I know some people were saying that, oh, maybe it's like she's become death, like she rides a horse. I don't know exactly what the symbolism is there. In the moment of watching it, I thought it was about her just reaching out to the last living thing here and showing compassion and showing a bit of softness that it was the last living thing, and she was just trying to show a bit of compassion towards it, and that's what I got from that scene, and I'm not sure about any other symbolism. Hopefully, here's the thing: there are like so many little things in this episode that I want to explain, but they aren't laid out for us enough, and it's hard to tell what's intentional and what's not, and that makes it a little difficult to analyze this episode completely. But yeah, the battle begins with like some of the episode was really, really good. Like just the shot of Daenerys coming down from the sun. It's mirroring what somebody did. I think it was Aegon at Harrenhal. He just dove in from the sky until he went as high as possible so that nobody could see him. That just dove straight down and blasted everything in fire. And this is a similar tactic. Very, very cool. But then it's so weird because like everybody was like really scared of the scorpions, and then they became sort of a non-factor. It's just things are like the advantage in battle keeps shifting like very, very easily, and yeah, it's just a little weird to me. I would have thought there was some way to even out the battle a bit. I thought Cersei might have been able to mount a bigger defense, is what I think. In the end, Drogon was enough. Like, they didn't really even need anybody else. But yeah, they made it seem like it was going to be like an impossible battle with only Drogon, and then there were a bunch of people who didn't have, who were battle worn and everything, and it wound up not mattering. Jon, I feel like Jon hasn't done anything in so many episodes, and I'm guessing it's him. His story is being set up so that he's the one who kills Daenerys. Especially since he didn't attack when she kept burning people, and we had Grey Worm looking back at him. I don't know if he's thinking of him as a threat now as well. I think Grey Worm realizes that Jon might not be completely loyal to Daenerys now, and I don't think Jon thinks of her as his queen anymore. But yeah, I mean, King's Landing is taken now, and it's impossible to justify her actions at that point, because I don't think if she had continued to burn, even after the bells rung, if she had burned down the Red Keep and killed Cersei, I don't think I would have had any problem with that. But she burned people on the streets who had nothing to do with the war, and it just made no sense to me. There was nothing in the story that ever showed that she was... I mean, she wanted to burn King's Landing to the ground in the first place, and she had to be kept on a leash, essentially, by her advisors, just keep being pulled back. But she cares about innocent lives. She locked up her dragons because one of them burned an innocent girl, and now she's just okay with burning everybody. There was no... I think the directors are trying to say that there was a progression where she started caring about... In the beginning, she cared about innocence, and then in the end, she didn't. But there was no progression, and that's, I guess, the biggest problem I have with Daenerys' story. And, one thing that I saw that was really funny, I saw in I think it was Stephen Colbert or The Daily Show. They were making jokes about how a bunch of people named their kids after Daenerys, and now they're regretting it. They're like, oh god. And it's just like, you gotta see how a character's arc ends before you name your child after them, because I don't know how much crap they're gonna get for having the name Daenerys in the future. Imagine finding out like years later like who you were named after and why, and then how it turned out. That'd be really funny. I wish I knew somebody in person who named their kid Daenerys, and I would love to see their reaction and what they would, what they feel right now. But yeah, let's see. I'm gonna go look at a question or not a question. There was a comment here from Kelsey. She was saying that the ending of the series has amazing potential, and she's really keen to see how the books go about it. But the show did not earn anything in this episode. It didn't earn Sandor Clegane or Jaime, and definitely not Dany. They literally turned her into a genocidal tyrant in 2 episodes with no real development of her mental state besides her being paranoid. And kudos to DB and Dan for making every single still living person of color in the story a savage, villain, pillaging and raping, killing helpless white people of Westeros. Bravo. So that's a very interesting... The ending part I actually didn't pick up on at the end with the people of color being savages, just because we didn't actually... I don't think... I mean, the Dothraki ran in, and the only person I was sure, like, that was about to attempt a sexual assault seemed to be a Northman, which I also see as, like, they also present as white, so I didn't pick up on that, but it is I understand the savage part where it's just a mix of people of color and white people wiping out everybody um, in King's Landing. I guess I didn't pick up on it just because, yeah, I think, I don't know why I didn't pick up on it. I don't know if I see it that way in the first place though, but yeah, it's. I definitely agree with everything else Kelsey said about how the show didn't really earn anything. It felt like Sandor. I know a lot of people were hyped for Clegane Bowl, but personally, I never got into it because we just had that little tiny bit of like, yeah, Sandor was pushed into the flames when he was a kid, and that wasn't enough for me to like be heavily involved, like heavily invested in the Hound versus the Mountain. The battle itself was okay, pretty interesting. And I was so actually the battle itself was pretty good. I just didn't feel the emotional like payoff of the Hound finally beating the Mountain. The battle itself, the stab through the eye, that was, and him not being like really, the Mountain didn't even flinch. He was just like, well, he flinched. He dropped him and then just pulled it out. I was like, it went through your brain. What did Qyburn do to you exactly? But yeah, I did think it was fitting that the Mountain dies with the Hound pushing him into the fire like they did. It's like a reversal of when they were kids. I thought that was well done, but yeah, just I didn't feel the emotional weight of that moment. Yeah, just the thing I liked most about that entire scene was just the Hound looking up at the Mountain and the dragon flying over. That was great, just great visual. But yeah, I don't think. Oh, about Jaime, she didn't think Jaime was earned either. I would agree. I think the character arc of, I guess, yeah, it didn't feel completely satisfying. It felt like he had no character arc at all. It was just kind of jerking us around, like, oh, he could be this way, but he's that way. And I think that's what they kept doing throughout the series. We kept getting signs that he's a changed man. He even said he's not the same person, but he still winds up doing the thing he would have done at the very beginning of the series. His battle with Euron, Euron's just such a crazy. Oh my god. Euron dying. But yeah, I know a lot of people are probably disappointed with this episode and the direction this series went, and I am too for the most part. I feel like even season 7, a lot of people were starting to get disappointed, and 6 and 7, especially 7. But I was still like, okay, it's still I can still get on board with it. But the transgressions in this episode kind of felt too much. Yeah, I feel like I know where the story is going now. I felt like the writers and the directors were gonna go with something unexpected and have a huge twist that made us question what we knew was real. But this, like, everything played out how I thought it would, and how like most people thought it would, and in my opinion, the most disappointing way. And yeah, I think Daenerys is definitely dying. I feel like that's inevitable now, and yeah, I don't feel like her. I feel like a lot of characters just didn't have a character arc, or their character arcs wound up meaning nothing. So yeah, I feel like Kelsey said something about the skeleton ending of the series has amazing potential, where I am like very, very much looking forward to reading the books and seeing how they play out. So I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do after this series ends. I probably again won't record because my back hurts and I've been kneeling on the ground to record some things, but even 45 minute shows like kill my back. So an hour and 20 minutes is kind of out of the question unless I feel a lot better tomorrow. But yeah, I'm not sure what I'm gonna do yet after finishing this series with Game of Thrones. You guys are gonna hear it here first. I'm gonna start watching The Expanse. The first episode will be up next Sunday on Patreon, and then it'll be on YouTube the week after that. And then what's it called? Once One Punch Man winds up, once that finishes up, I'll start Westworld, I think, unless I see another show that I like more. If I discover a show I like more in the meantime, I might switch it up. The Expanse is for sure because I don't know. I like space. I like sci-fi a lot, and looking forward to actually getting a sci-fi show in. Other than Agents of Shield is back too. Anyway, yeah, I think I'm gonna give this episode a 2.5 just because it felt like everybody out went out with a whimper. There was no like, yes, they finally did this, or that yes, they finally like this is a satisfying conclusion to their arc. It felt like just a little empty, and I don't know what I'm gonna do. I know, yeah. So My original thought of how I was gonna continue Game of Thrones stuff after the series ended was that I was gonna borrow the books from the library, and then like I would read up to the end of episode 1 and watch episode 1 and then talk about how they changed it and how what was different exactly. So but yeah, I don't know how popular Game of Thrones is gonna be after this disaster of an ending, but I'll see. I'll think about what I'm gonna do because I don't know. I probably need a break after this, just considering how disappointed I am with the way the last 2 episodes are probably gonna go. They could redeem could redeem some things with the last episode, but I'm not entirely sure they will. I don't have trust that they will, but we'll see. Anyway, guys, I've been talking for like 20 minutes, and I've gone off on several tangents. Hopefully you stuck with me and it wasn't too boring, but looking forward to seeing how this all ends, kind of. But I'll see you guys soon for the last episode. Bye, friends. Thanks for watching.